Hello citizens of the Dark Knight Nation, and welcome to Comics Insider, the show where we break down, discuss, and analyze a highly anticipated comic that has come out within the last week. Now, today we're going to be discussing DCeased, Dead Planet #1 by Tom Taylor and Trevor Hairsine. Obviously, the first DCeased really hit the ground running, and so this series has had a lot to live up to. Tom Taylor, for my money, is one of the best writers in comics today, so this is an exciting thing for me to get into, and granted, when the first DCeased came out, I thought it was all going to be really gimmicky, so the fact that he was able to win me over so well means a lot. But before we get this video started, I want to let you know that you'll be able to enter in to win a free digital copy of DCeased, Dead Planet #1 thanks to my sponsor AJ's Comics in Colchester, Connecticut. All of that info will be towards the end of the video, but one thing I can tell you is that in order to enter, some of the things you'll need to do are liking this video, especially if you end up enjoying it. That's a big help. Subscribing down to the channel below for more content like this, and of course leaving any comment whatsoever. Now, if you are an adamant viewer of the Dark Knight Nation and you would like to contribute to the channel, one great way for you guys to do that directly is to use the Stream Elements tip link in the description below. Otherwise, you're also more than welcome to go check out the Dark Knight Nation shop at darkknightnation.com/shop, where you can pick up all of your DKN and DKN affiliated gear and merchandise. A little bit of money comes to me, you guys get a cool piece of merch. I think it's a win-win. But if financial contribution is not in the cards, sharing this video with your friends is an absolutely huge help. So if you would, I would super appreciate that. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into this video. DCeased, Dead Planet #1 by Tom Taylor and Trevor Hairsine opens with a disconnected monologue summarizing the loss of Earth and its heroes throughout the course of the last series. The narrator turns out to a lonely and drunk John Constantine, weighing in on the now. The remaining survivors lost everything, and although they didn't think there was anything left to lose, he admits they were wrong. As a result of the DCeased A Good Day to Die one-shot, John indulges in the sting of survivor's guilt. 5 years have passed since Earth's reckoning, and John has spent them drinking with a shoebox of his friend's remains. This issue juxtaposes narration with direct scenes from the previous series to fill the reader in on the events that led to where we are now. The anti-life zombie apocalypse has taken over the universe, and one such event was the decapitation of Cyborg at the hands of the zombified Wonder Woman. It's revealed here that the half-man, half-apocalyptian machine has awoken after a long sleep. He searches his system only to find a hidden tracker buried deep, courtesy of the now-deceased Batman. And in a move of desperation, Cyborg turned it back on as a converted distress signal cast out from his doomed world. An undetermined distance away, just outside of the atmosphere of Earth 2, the new Justice League, led by John Kent's Superman, defends their home from an alien invasion. The young Man of Steel rockets through one of the invaders' ships as he corresponds with Batman, just having infiltrated the royal control room. Where John reminds Damian that diplomacy is the answer, the young Dark Knight battles his way through the alien soldiers before he engages with the royal guard. And before Damian begins to cause a little bit too much damage, Superman intervenes, asking the king to meet their leader down in New Metropolis. Lois Lane, the leader of Earth 2, de-escalates the intergalactic conflict, while Damian receives a word from Alfred of a message in Morse code being transmitted to his father's old briefcase. Sometime later, the League convenes on the message, and it simply translates to the letters J and L. Someone on the dead Earth seemingly needs their heroes. After the unexpected tragedy of losing everything, Green Arrow remains skeptical of the message and the intent of its sender. So, the Green Lantern Canary proposes that they take a vote. The Justice League's decision is unanimous. It's time to heed the call. John informs his mother of their choice, and while understanding, she urges her son to come straight back, addressing him as Superman. The young Kryptonian expresses his discomfort and self-consciousness of living up to his father's mantle, but Lois says that if that's the case, then he should stop doing so well at earning it. Back with Dinah and Ollie, the couple comes to grips with the severity of the League's decision, and with Ollie being the least suited to join, Dinah pleads with him to stay on their new home. With that, Ollie refuses to stay, of course, reminding both her and the readers that it was him that killed the undead Aquaman riding a Kraken, and that when it comes down to it, he would do it all again to protect her. Although Ollie's stubbornness makes her uneasy, she makes a promise to bring him home when it's all said and done. We then pick up with the Justice League just outside of the dead Earth's atmosphere, when Kilowog's ring detects a high-speed projectile coming their way, only for Krypto to crash through the shield in an embrace with John. Moments later, the Justice League touches down on Earth and finds the source of the signal. Cyborg's head. And the new Wonder Woman uses her lasso of truth to force him into talking, but at best the decapitated hero lets out little more than incoherent mumbles. Superman recovers Cyborg's body and prepares to load him back onto the ship, but suddenly their vessel is bombarded by an unstoppable force, causing the wreckage to crumble down to the earth below. In the calamity, the undead Wonder Woman takes her deathly hold on an unsuspecting Green Arrow, and in a fit of agony and rage, the Green Canary jets towards Ollie's murderer with an unrelenting barrage of attacks. Cyborg's decapitated head struggles to speak with nothing louder than a whisper coming out, but Superman could hear it, prompting him to race toward Dinah in the split second before she can finish the zombie Wonder Woman with one final swing of the mystical kryptonite sword. Without time to think it through, though, John is skewered together with the zombified Wonder Woman, revealing that Cyborg's mumblings carried with them an answer, a cure for the anti-life infection. And that was DCeased Dead Planet issue number 1. Now, one thing I want to make sure I give Tom Taylor credit for is his ability to make this story feel so accessible, even though it's a sequel series. He rolls out expository information necessary for this plot, but also kind of represents scenes and moments that he is elaborating upon from the first series, and because of that, it makes it easier for me coming back as a reader of the first series, but I can't help but feel like it would allow a new reader to get on into this book. Now, with that being said, I still recommend you go read the first series because it was great. Tom Taylor, per usual, absolutely excels in his character work in this issue, both in the way he characterizes these individual characters on a case-by-case basis, but also their dynamics, and building on the emotional drama from the previous series, because it was a heart-wrencher. Let me tell you, if you haven't read it already. One of the things that I love about it is how, for example, he logically picks up on Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne 5 years after the events of this series. And mind you, over 5 years, they've grown from adolescents into young adults. But he really, really well maintains the essence of the adolescent boys that we know from current continuity and from his DCeased continuity. But he's also developed them into adults that feel organic and true to who we know them to be. So that is absolutely excellent. This opening issue was also very well paced. Tom Taylor balances the small interpersonal scenes well with the high stakes and drama of this story's pivotal and traumatic moments. So you have those one-page, very personal scenes between John Kent and Lois Lane, and it just feels so heart-wrenching, kind of in a good way, right? Like, John Kent's insecurities are being revealed here as to his ability to take over such an iconic role as Superman, and, you know, Lois playing a really, really crucial motherly role in kind of gratifying his ability to operate as Superman, and it also kind of gratifies it for us as readers, right? Like, we pretty much find out that John Kent is the Superman that we've always wanted him to be, and I'm hoping we kind of get an Alfred Damian scene like that in another issue. But then you also get that last really intimate moment between Dinah and Ollie. Not only does Tom Taylor maintain the levity of their relationship, but also really imposes upon them the stakes and the dire situation at hand. So in that really small moment, we have a lot of different dynamics at play, which Tom Taylor just does very well at balancing all together. See, Tom Taylor does such a great job setting up the stakes of this story. And you can tell because, well, I feel like most of us as readers are actually genuinely scared for the outcome. We really are unsure as to whether or not these characters are going to come out of this alive and win the day. But because of how consistent Taylor has penned the prior series and pretty much everything else he's done in comics, I don't feel any distrust. It doesn't feel like something these characters still can't get out of, even though the chances seem slim. And it would be very easy to set this up, you know, for a Deus Ex Machina metal, or put us in a situation where we don't feel stakes, where we don't feel afraid for the characters or for the world. But that's not the case here. Tom Taylor excellently sets this up for us, and I'm genuinely concerned for a lot of these characters' well-beings. Per usual, Taylor's world building is top class. You see it in Injustice, you saw it in the first series, and I'm really excited to see how he's going to expand further. We're already getting kind of little tidbits about, you know, the survivors of the dead planet reacclimating to a new planet, what has happened to the dead Earth 5 years after the initial series ends, and that's a strength of the world building here. My one big critique of this story is the moment that John gets skewered together with the zombie Wonder Woman. It felt like it could have been reframed, and it felt like we could have gotten that same result, right? Taking John off the table to up the stakes, right? Because he is a crucial piece. He's the queen on the chessboard, but also setting him up dramatically for a triumphant return. I can't help feel like we could have gotten that same result, that same setup for the character in another way that didn't feel like it was an underestimation of his powers, because although it was a split-second decision, a split second for me is like an hour for Superman. So there's so many different ways that I feel like John could have, you know, gotten the kryptonite out of the way and done this and done that. And when I'm kind of starting to subconsciously poke holes in that, it does come off as a little bit of a flaw in the writing, and I wish that moment could have been kind of nuanced a bit, you know what I mean? Maybe John Kent uses his superpowered lungs to misdirect her swing, and then he goes to get in front of Canary and gets dealt a pretty crucial blow by zombie Wonder Woman. I don't know, this is a pretty bad example, but you understand what I mean. Like, it seems like a little bit of a jump in logic that John Kent wouldn't have been fast enough to do anything other than jump in front of the sword. Regarding the art, like I said, Trevor Hairsine continues to get better between the previous series and this one. He does a great job at atmospherically kind of capturing both the life and the levity of these characters prior to going back to the dead planet, but also when they do, reinstilling that kind of drama of the carnage of it all. There's a really smart use of monotone backgrounds in the smaller interpersonal scenes, like with Dinah and Ollie, and he doesn't overdo it, which a lot of comic book artists will do because they get lazy, but it's a very deliberate choice by Trevor Hairsine in order to really push forward the conversation, the interpersonal relationship between those two characters, and how the scene and the dialogue is adding upon that. So great job, and it shows a real wealth of craft artistically here. So in conclusion, I would probably give this book a strong 8.5 out of 10. Really consistent writing, great characterization, world building. The stakes are high and they feel scary, to say the least. But my biggest writing critique is that pivotal moment at the end of this issue. It feels a little bit like we needed to do this. We needed to get John off the board, potentially set him up again for that triumphant return. I just feel like it could have been done with a little bit more deliberation, but that's really not the end of the world because I'm still enjoying the shit out of this series. And if you would like to be able to win a free digital copy of this issue, we must hit 25 likes in the first 3 days. In order to win, you must like this video, subscribe down to the channel below, and comment down below answering the question of the day: how are you feeling about DCeased? I know this is super general, but it gives you plenty of room to play in. It could be the first series, this series, how you feel about how things are unraveling between the two, anything. So make sure you guys go do that down below, and that's all thanks to my local comic book store, AJ's Comics in Colchester, Connecticut. If you sign up for their comic book pull list, you get 10% off all of your books, and if you'd like, they'll mail your books to you. So if you accumulate orders to $100 or more, you can also get free shipping, and it also applies to United States military bases overseas. So if you need a local comic book store, why not use mine? And without them, I wouldn't be put in a situation where I can give you guys some free comics. So make sure you guys go check them out. And lastly, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to stick around on the channel and become a member of the Dark Knight Nation. Otherwise, we will see you in the next video right here on the channel.